Can the Oil make it 7 in a row? They're going streaking again. We get you set for the Oilers and the Senators on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola with you, as well as YouTube Trev, holding things down back at EST HQ on the west side of our city. I'm coming at you from the Satellite Studios, a.k.a. the home studio, just outside Edmonton's Ice District, as we get you set for the Edmonton Oilers and the Ottawa Senators. Edmonton 19-15-1 on the season. Ottawa 14-20. We're going into game number 36 on the SCAD for the Oil, and one of 12 games around the National Hockey League tonight. And as always, if you're making your way to the game and listening on the TuneIn app or just via our audio stream on edmontonsportstalk.com, we appreciate you. And you want to text us, get in at the inbox 780-218-9999. Or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, you can also reach us via the nasty chat. Keep it civil. Don't get nasty and treat each other good. We had to put people in timeout today, Trev. I didn't want to do it, but I had to.
Yeah, we did. The Nasty Chat has a nasty name, but ELE, as we say. Everyone love everyone.
Everybody love everybody as we get set for the Oil and Sens. I mean, the Oilers are on fire right now. They're playing well. What are they? They have 16 wins in their last 22, 17 in the last 23 because they won that last game under former head coach Jay Woodcroft. And all of a sudden, they have a chance tonight to catapult themselves into a wild card spot, as they have played really, really well of late. We've mentioned it, and certainly they have clawed their way back. The Kraken holding down the second and final wild card spot in the Western Conference with 41 points. The Oilers can match that in 3 less games. This is game 36 for the Oil. Seattle has played 39. The Kraken, look out, are on fire. 8-0-2 in their last 10. They've rattled off 6 straight wins, just like Edmonton. Edmonton 7-3 in its last 10. And you're going, what about the Ottawa Senators, Tom? No bueno. No bueno. Like I said, 14-20 is the record. They are last in the Eastern Conference with 28 points. They are 4-10 away from Canadian Tire Center in Canada. And then their last 10, they are 3-7. They have dropped 2 in a row. We will have Ben Scrivens join us tonight. He is filling in for Matty Cassian. Cass is still fighting it. This cold getting the better of the big man, and we wish him well. And he says he's feeling a little bit better. He thinks he's back on the up and up, but still no voice. So, Cass, hang in there, buddy. Rest up, and we'll see you when you're ready to go in a couple of days when the Oilers hit the road against the Chicago Blackhawks, hopefully. So, Ben was nice enough to step in. Belzy is away in Vancouver coaching his team, and then Gager has a previous commitment that he has to get to tonight. So, Ben Scrivens will join us at around 7:05. We'll also touch base with Claire Hanna from TSN Ottawa, covering the Sens, working on their broadcast. And Claire obviously also worked here in Edmonton, and she'll give us the scoop on these Ottawa Senators and what the heck is going on with them, because it was supposed to be a year with a good core that was supposed to start to make some noise in the Eastern Conference in a good way, and all of it has been pretty darn disappointing. Dr. Gonzo says, Tommy, did you steal that shirt from Mr. Rogers? Nah, I didn't. Although I did put the cardigan on. I've got the blazer ready to go when I leave for the arena at the end of the show. It's pretty cold in the press box at Rogers Place, so layer up. And I figured I'd go with the Mr. Rogers look for the pregame show. I'll probably do the same on the postgame. And it looks all right. And the other thing too, more importantly, it's warm. So appreciate that, Dr. Gonzo. Get those questions in 780-218-9999. I saw some hopping into the inbox there, and then the nasty chat. Talk amongst yourselves, as you tend to do. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, as we're on the march to 7,000 followers on our EST YouTube channel. Great stuff, as always. And again, if you're listening and you are on your way to the game, you can fire us a text and get in on the show as well. Okay, let's go into starting lineups, and we'll look at both teams, obviously. We'll get to starting goalies 2. And then Claire will join us in about 5 minutes or so. If you have any questions in regard to the Sens, let us know because we could pass those along to Claire and she could answer them for you. So without further ado, let's go into what we're anticipating from the Oilers tonight. This is how they skated yesterday. Today was an optional. They did have an availability. We will hear from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, and Chris Knobloch. Later on in the show, we'll also hear from Jacques Martin, interim head coach, again, with the Senators behind their bench once again, like he was in the early 2000s. We'll also hear from, I believe, Drake Batherson, too. So for the Oil tonight, here's what we're expecting. No real surprises, honestly. McDavid between Nugent-Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl with McLeod and Foegele. That line has been very good lately. Obviously, Foegele playing very well and McLeod playing very well. And you heard Ryan Rishaug talk about it on the Nielsen show that all of a sudden that's a lot of speed on Draisaitl's flanks and it's made him play quicker. And so far, the effect has been quite positive on the score sheet and then in the win column. And that has been a big part, that line there, of the Oilers' success. On top of the top line, top of the third and fourth lines also contributing, playing well, responsibly, tilting the ice, all that good stuff. The cliches, they're making it happen. Third line, Derek Ryan between Evander Kane and Matthias Janmark. And then the fourth line, James Hamblin between Adam Ernie and Connor Brown. Does Connor Brown score against his old team? Trev?
You know what? I was actually going to say, yeah, I think Connor Brown scores tonight. Everyone, I know Dusty said it. I think it was Gager or Cass. But you know what? Tonight I'm giving in, and I'm saying Connor Brown scores, and it just happens to be against his former team. So yeah, that's why it's fitting, right?
Belzy said he wanted.
It was Belzy. Oh yeah, that's right. It was Belzy.
Yeah, and he's like, put money on it. No, it didn't happen, but he was around it in Anaheim for sure. Let's take a look at the defense for the Oilers tonight. Again, sticking with what's been working, obviously. Nurse with Ceci, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak with Desharnais. Don't expect Sam Gagner to go tonight. If anything changes, we will let you know during warm-up. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us. Got a couple of texts here before we get to the Sens lineup. Maple Jed chiming in. What's up, Maple Jed? Maple Jed says, holy smokes, I made it in time for the intro. LFG Tom and YouTube Trev hit me with the question of the night. I can do that, Maple Jed. I can definitely do that. Question of the night is this, 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat. What was your favorite part of the Oilers skills competition on Thursday? Let's hear it from you. If you made it out to Rogers Place, it looked like there was a lot of kids. It looked like it was a great time. Didn't cost hundreds of dollars to buy tickets, from what I understand. They were relatively inexpensive. It's for the kids, man. It's for the kids. And the players had a good time. The dogs, the rough relay was excellent. Hugo Ceci, he is my star of the skills competition. And one of the stars of the skills competition the other night, Ben Scrivens, will be joining us, filling in as our analyst tonight. And we'll talk to Ben about his skills competition experience, wearing like the old Cooper gear. I'll ask him about that. So Maple Jed, that's your question of the night. Let me know your thoughts as well to the rest of our listeners and viewers. What did you like about the skills competition the most the other night? All right. Ottawa Senators lineup. This is what we expect from the Sens. This is how they played in Seattle the other night. That was a 4-1 loss for the Ottawa Senators. They had Josh Norris between Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson. Tim Stützle was with Vladimir Tarasenko and Claude Giroux. You had Ridley Gregg with Dominic Kubalik and Parker Kelly. Mark Kastelik between Yuri Schmigel and Angus Crookshank. On defense for the Sens, Jacob Chychrun with Jake Sanderson. Thomas Chabot with Artem Zub. Eric Brandstrom paired up with Travis Hamonic, the veteran. And out for the Sens the other night, Jacob Bernard-Docker, Zach McEwen. Rourke Chartier is on the IR with an upper body issue, and Matthew Joseph is on the IR with a lower body issue. That brings us to starting goalies. For the Edmonton Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner expected to get the nod between the pipes. He is 15-9-1 on the season with a .283 goals against average, .895 save percentage, 2 shutouts this year in 26 games. Lifetime versus the Ottawa Senators, the 25-year-old Skinner, 2-1-0 record, .437 goals against average, .963 save percentage in 3 games versus Ottawa. At the other end of the rink, it's 31-year-old Anton Forsberg, former Oilers property. The season where there was the North Division. Remember, he was with the Oilers, ended up going through waivers, and was picked up, I think, Carolina, ended up with Winnipeg for a bit, eventually wound up with the Ottawa Senators, where he is now. Signed a deal with them. He's 7-7, 336 goals against average, 883 save percentage with one shutout in 14 games this season. Forsberg, 1-2-1 with a 279 GA, 819 save percentage in 4 games against Edmonton in his career. Let's see. We got a couple of texts to get to before Claire Hanna joins us. She will be hopping on. I think she made her way over to Calgary, of all things. So Claire will be giving us the Sens perspective tonight, and then Ben Scrivens filling in on Game Changers for Matt Cassian. Liquid Beaver says, "Hey, Mr. Gazzola." Nobody calls me Mister, but thanks, Liquid Beaver. Do you know, and can you explain how they keep track of ice time, giveaways, takeaways, etc. during an NHL game? Do they have a statistician for each player? The ice time, I believe now, because they have in the back of their uniforms tracking chip that all the rinks in the NHL have technology in it now, or in them, where it can track if the players are on the ice. So that is automated, I believe now. That's how you also get like the player speeds and where they are on the ice. And that comes from that RFID chip on the back. Giveaways and takeaways, they are usually subjective, and it comes from the off-ice officials who will go over that. It's just like shots on goal. You'll see, they'll announce shots on goal and say, 14-12 in favor of Calgary at the end of the first period. And then you go into the second period and all of a sudden it's 13-12 in favor of Calgary. Well, they review shots. They literally watch and go back on the game tape, and they take a shot away, add a shot. And I think it's the same for the giveaways and takeaways. So that is my understanding of how they do it. So there is still the off-ice officials up in the press box who do that portion. And then the stuff like ice time, speed, all that is tracked with the chip that is programmed for each player specifically, and then just sits in the back of the uniform. You can see the little bump on the back right shoulder of every player's uniform. That's how they do it. Maple Jed says his favorite part of the skills competition was it's got to be Hugo for the win. If it wasn't for the dog race, I wouldn't have known it was happening. Yes, quite popular, that the rough relay. YouTube Trev, what was your favorite element of the skills competition?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably with kind of everyone else. I think that's a little fun thing what they're doing the last 2 years with everyone bringing in their pups. It's pretty cute, and it's new, and I think people like that. But growing up, I was huge in like the breakaway challenge, if you will, or the shootout. That was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed the skills comp as a kid. I went twice, I believe, and but yeah, no, a lot of fun. The fastest skater's always pretty cool. Hardest shot was always super fun growing up. But yeah, this new pup thing, it's got to catch. I like it.
They've done it a couple of years in a row now, so it is cool. And it's nice to see the players' kids too that are out there. They're sitting on the bench and all that in their jerseys and uniforms. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Claire just texted me. She says she's so sick, but patiently waiting for our call. So maybe we give her a call instead.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I'll get right
All right. Beautiful. We'll bring Claire on. Claire fighting a cold. We won't bother her for too long. All right. 780-218-9999 if you want to get in on the conversation, and then via the nasty chat. If you're just joining us, the question of the night, a little bit of a fun one as we roll through the weekend here. What was your favorite part of the Oilers skills competition on Thursday? See what we got in the nasty chat. Dr. Gonzo says, fave skills comp moment. McDavid absolutely disrespecting Scrivesna. We'll talk to Ben about that. He's going to be joining us soon. Vance Van Vandervan says, Scrivs is good, but this would have been a perfect time for future EST guest Bob Stauffer to become current EST guest Bob Stauffer. Yes, Vance Van Vandervan, future EST guest Bob Stauffer, does have other responsibilities tonight. I believe he's helping out on the Chet broadcast, as he tends to do. That is his priority. But we will get him on one day, and we know he watches and he listens. So I love it. Keep those coming in, 780-218-9999. Throw some stats your way as we get set to welcome in Claire Hanna shortly. And for the Oil, I mean, they have absolutely dominated the Senators in recent years. Edmonton's won 6 of the last 7 at home against Ottawa. Edmonton in the last 13 games versus the Senators, an 11-1-1 record. That goes all the way back to the North Division, where they were just absolutely destroying the Sens. And this year, the Oil looking for their first win versus the Atlantic Division, 0-4 thus far. Sens, meanwhile, 2-5 versus the Pacific. So there is some stats to chew on between the Oilers and the Sens. Let's take a look at out-of-town scores right now. The Flyers defeat the Calgary Flames 3-2. We also saw the Florida Panthers double up on the Colorado Avalanche 8-4. After 2 in Boston, it is the Bruins 4, the Lightning 3 in Columbus. 2-2 after 2 between the Jackets and the Minnesota Wild in Montreal tonight. You have the Habs leading the Rangers 3-2 after 2 in New Jersey. It's 3-1 Vancouver over the Devils with under a minute left to play in the second period. After 2 in Pittsburgh, Buffalo leads the Penguins 1-0. And after 2 in San Jose, an earlier start in San Jose today, the Leafs lead the Sharks. Of course, for the Leafs, they get the early start wherever they go, don't they? Carolina and St. Louis still on the way. And then you've got Dallas hosting Nashville. You got the Oilers and the Sens, obviously. And then the night wraps up as well with the Golden Knights hosting the New York Islanders. All right, we have Claire Hanna from TSN Ottawa ready to go. Good evening, Claire. Thank you for hopping on the Oil Stream pregame show. Are you doing okay? Are you doing okay?
Oh my gosh, Tom, I feel like, I don't know, I've got a bug and I'm under like 30 blankets. I have this big sweater and sweatpants on. I'm like about to put a cold towel on my forehead. Like, I am just going through it right now, but I'm like, I can't, like, it's so hard to fill these spots. And like, when you commit, you just gotta commit. So like, here we go. Let's do this. And I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
You're the best for doing it. We'll start with that. Thank you. And yeah, whatever this bug is that's going around, like it's got Cass knocked on his butt right now, and he's been out of commission for going on 2 weeks. He had to go to the hospital. So it's hitting people pretty hard here.
Don't jinx me. I can't be out 2 weeks. I'm hoping this is a 3-dayer.
Well, I hope so too. Your voice is still there. Cass doesn't have one. So let's positive vibes, Claire. Positive vibes.
Okay, thank you.
You're being a trooper. All right, okay, let's go into this Sens team here. One win in the last 4. I know it's been a frustrating season, but for the team, when you talk to them and are around them, can you sense it every day? And then what's the fan base like when it tries to have patience, but I'm assuming had better expectation and anticipation for this team than last place in the Eastern Conference?
Okay, there's so much to unpack in that question.
Sorry,
so I'm start with the fact that no, it's okay. But I'm like, wait, 1 win in their last 4, because it doesn't even feel like that. It feels like they've had 6 straight losses. It does not feel like a team that even remembers a victory. I mean, they had that like a little stretch over the holidays that was looking okay. But something is up with this team, and the morale, it wasn't dipping earlier this year, because this is a team with a lot of expectations. They were 6 points out of a playoff spot last year. And obviously people thought, okay, they're going to take a step forward. They're going to be even better. They're probably going to be knocking on the door for the playoffs. A lot of people predicted they'd just get in, maybe in a wild card spot, maybe a bit more, who knows? And now, like, November was dreary. And it was in November where I was really impressed by the group, because that's when, in a season, when things aren't going well, you can kind of throw in the towel and think, okay, like, you almost give up at that point. But the group was really united. They to me, came with it like a very united front. They were frustrated but optimistic, and you could see that the room wasn't split. Now, and I'm not saying the room's split now, but right now they are having to dig so deep for optimism. It's hard to find, and it's almost like I don't think there's luck in sports, because I think you make your own luck. But for example, in Seattle, they like finally put together a pretty good game and run into Joey Decord, who's like having a hot streak. He's just like so hot in net, so they can't get a break there. And then so it's like they'll put together okay performances where there's a team they should beat, and then they just lay off the gas pedal, and like what happens? So and I haven't spoken to the team because they've been on the road. And so like, when you're actually talking to the players face to face, you can get way more of a sense of where they're at. I've just been listening to like clips. So I'm just like, this is a point in the season where are you just going to start, okay, throwing in the towel, let's try to get a high draft pick, or do you like pull up your big boy pants and like figure this out? And I mean, this is a huge test tonight, and it could be it could be like a slaughter at the hands of the Oilers, or maybe this is the turning point and they beat a really good team. I don't know.
Well, it's Edmonton's rolling really hot right now, and they've got this thing and this ship turned around in a good way, obviously. But Coach Mike texts in and he wants to know, Claire, is goaltending the biggest reason the Sens are where they are this season? And I'll just throw some stats out there. We're going to see Forsberg tonight, 7-7. 336 goals against average, 883 save percentage in the 14 games he's played. Korpisalo, who they went out and signed, of course, finished the season last year with the LA Kings. We saw him in that series against the Oilers. He has played 23 games. He's got 7 wins, 13 losses, 361 goals against average, 889 save percentage. What would you tell Coach Mike about the goaltending in Ottawa this year, Claire?
Well, first of all, I'd ask, is he a legit coach? Because why is his name Coach Mike? But maybe he is. Okay, but let's for real just break this down. Because so the defense has been an issue at some points for the Senators, and I'm talking about in front of the goaltender. Okay,
right.
And when Jacques Martin came in, I asked him specifically. I said, "Have you had a specific conversation with your goaltenders, and what have you said?" And he's like, "You know what? I told them that goaltending is so much more than them just stopping shots. It's the play in front of them. And I don't think it's been as good as it could be." And he brought up the example of Cam Talbot, who played with the Senators last year, didn't have a great year, and now he's having one of the best seasons in the NHL. And he also brought up, Gus the Bus with Minnesota Wild. Help me out.
Right.
I'm forgetting. This is where the sickness is affecting me, okay? Gustafsson.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's also doing great. And again, he was one of the goaltenders that the Senators had. So I think that there does have to be some improvement on defense in front of the goalies. But in that same breath, there's been some like super softy shots that these goalies have to have that they haven't made. And so I want to take some of the onus away from the goaltending, because I mean, those stats are not good. And then you'll watch the tape and there's a couple and you're like, okay, wait, that's like a goalie has to have that. But mentally, I feel like it's really tough because you're not sure how the team's performing in front of you. And then you're kind of overthinking as a goalie and you're trying to do too much. And then all of a sudden, a shot that you should have goes in because maybe you were trying to compensate for what was missing on defense. So I think there's a lot of things to deal with. But yeah, I think goaltending and defense needs to be better. The two things.
Claire, who let in that floater, that little chip shot in Vancouver that Noodles was telling me about? Was that Korpisalo or was it when Forsberg got in there? Do you remember? Because that's kind of like...
So that was actually the same night that, and this is going to be kind of an excuse here, but the PWHL had their very first game in Ottawa ever that night. So we were all covering that game. And then I remember I was listening to the broadcast on the radio on the way home. And so I don't know who let that one in, but I thought it was Korpisalo who played most of that game. So I'm going to say it was him. And this is where I should know this is Senators reporter, but I'm juggling a couple different leagues right now.
No, you're busy. And you know what? I can't remember. I should remember too, but both guys played that night. And Noodles was like, Tommy, when that puck went in, like it was a little chip shot. And he's like, we've all been there as goaltenders. And he's like, that just sums it up. So when you were talking about like the easy ones getting by, I was like, oh yeah, they had that really bad one in Vancouver. So
that's happened multiple times, Tom. Like that's where it's like, yikes. They put together a decent performance, and then this happens, and then that just takes the wind out of the sails. It just continues to pile on.
Right. When it rains, it pours for teams that are struggling. Claire Hanna joining us from TSN Ottawa as we get set for the Oilers and Senators. All right. There's also been, like, with the turmoil on the ice, Claire, that you were discussing, off the ice. You talked about Jacques Martin. He's back behind the bench with the Sens. Steve Staios makes himself the GM after being brought in by Michael Andlauer. And then we saw Dave Poulin brought in from TSN and, a few other little tweaks to the front office staff. Like, how is everything that's going on off the ice affecting the team on the ice? And what's your take on how Michael Andlauer is trying to go about fixing this thing and doing it mid-season? Because that's got to be tough.
Oh yeah. But he really didn't have much of a choice, because when he was named owner, it was like September. And so that's a really tough time to come in and actually start making changes. So he kind of said this when he was announced as owner officially. Like, the NHL didn't do a good job of this sale, because they could have given him a lot more time and a lot more information when he came in as owner.
Right.
But I will say, so when he took Steve Staios' interim tag off, when he elevated Ryan Bowness from assistant to associate general manager, and when he brought in Dave Poulin to be VP of hockey operations, Michael Andlauer said his New Year's resolution was to bring stability to the organization and to make stability a staple word, because that's something this organization has lacked. And he's right. And I think, like, in looking around for a new GM, they admitted that they never officially interviewed anybody, but they were looking. They kept saying that when they kept looking at other people, they kept coming back to Ryan Bowness, and his dad's Rick Bowness, head coach of the Jets.
Right. Right.
So he's got this hockey pedigree. He's probably worked in his back offices a lot more than people realize. And they were like, well, he knows this group. Let's just, give him a bit of a promotion here. But it's that stability. Like, this team has been through so much change this year. Pierre Dorian's out. DJ Smith's out. DJ Smith was really popular in that room. The guys really liked him. Now, does that mean he should stay as coach? No. Sometimes you need to change it up to get some fresh blood in there. I mean, look at the Edmonton Oilers. Works there. But this team probably can't afford many more massive changes, because I think it would just put it into even more chaos. And I use this analogy on another interview, but if you're driving a big ocean liner ship and you turn the wheel, it takes a long time for that ship to actually change direction. And I think it's going to take a while. It's not just going to happen overnight for this team to change direction. And so I'm curious to see, like, Jacques Martin talks about how he's just slowly changing systems, but he doesn't want to do it too dramatically, too drastically. And he also is trying to just put some confidence into some of these young players, like Tim Stützle. He's really squeezing his stick right now. He's not feeling himself, and that's somebody you need to feel like. You want Tim Stützle to feel like he's the man, and he's not. And so I think Jacques Martin is trying to just, get the mojo back for these guys.
Claire, how's the fan base handling all of this, by the way? Because I'm sure when you're walking around, when you're at the rink or in the city, and people are like, hey, Claire, what's going on? What are they saying, and what's the vibe you're getting off of them? Because I'm assuming they're pissed off, but is there patience for this group?
That's a really good question, and I try to get the temperature gauge on that one, and I think that they are running out of patience, because I think this was the year. Even last year they talked about, is this team going to turn a corner? They had a couple flops at the end of last season. I remember notably a big loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, which, had they won, that would have put them like 4 points out of a playoff spot. And then you never know at that point in the season. Like, there were still, I don't know, maybe 12 games left. And this year, given these dismal results, they're like at the bottom of the Atlantic Division. This is not where this fan base expected this team to be. And Jacques Martin said this in another interview. He said, this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in the last 6 years. They haven't even been close. And you know what the decade of darkness was like in Edmonton. You lived that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this fan base is just like, they've just been waiting so patiently for something to cheer for. There's been interesting owners with this group. They just want so desperately for this team to turn a corner. And I admire them, because they are vocal. They're a really passionate fan base. I know everybody looks at Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, but this is like a small but mighty group. And I just don't know how much longer they're going to deal with it. But I do think Michael Andlauer brings a lot of optimism because he's like, screw this. We're going to make changes. We're going to put the right people in the right places. So that's got to be something that the fan base can at least be happy or satisfied about, because they've got an owner who cares and he's putting money towards making this group better.
Claire Hanna joining us now from TSN Ottawa, grinding through a cold, but I'll throw one more at you, and it can't be all negative, Claire.
Okay, good.
When this Ottawa Senators team is having success in their 14 wins this season, what qualities of the game stands out for this group?
I'm trying to remember the wins. That's so bad.
Okay,
well, I remember. Yeah, I remember. I know it's not that many. Okay, well, I think it's when they haven't given up. Okay, so they've kept going, and there's been, I remember, this was a notable one. Recently, I think it was December 27th in Toronto. They were down 2-0 to the Maple Leafs. They came back and won 4-2. And I was watching, and I'm like, am I really seeing this? And this team, like, I saw a belief. I saw them claw back. They got a shorthanded goal. Like, they stayed in it. And I don't know why they fall out of it sometimes. And I think sometimes it's like, like forwards need to play defense too, and doing the right things away from the puck and hustling. And sometimes I think that's where they just, as a young team, they sometimes lack that maturity and that composure to keep after it. And so it's the wins where they've kept after it. And in the National Hockey League, you can never let up. This league is too good. You always have to just give her. And I think that's what the group's hopefully learning, but lacking in their losses.
Claire, we'll see which Sens team shows up and if those good qualities shine through, or if we see more of the same like we have for the last 4 games where they have just the one win. Hey, get well, Claire. Thanks for stopping by today. Really appreciate it. And we'll do this again probably in a few months when the Oilers hook up with the Sens in Ottawa.
Okay, and I just hope we have a really good game, and I'm going to go back on my night goal now, okay?
Hey, thanks, Claire. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Tom.
That is Claire Hanna from TSN Ottawa covering the Sens, and she is on the Sens broadcast, especially when they're at home, although she's under the weather, but good enough to join us today. All right, it is the Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola, YouTube Trev with you, and if you want to get in on the conversation, 780-218-9999 is the number to text us if you're on your way to the game and listening. That's how you can reach out. And if you have any questions for our game analyst tonight, Ben Scrivens, who is joining us, filling in for Matt Cassian, fire us a text. But if you're watching on our YouTube channel, you can also get in on the Nasty Chat. And I see a bunch of people have gotten in there. So you can text us, or you can get to us via the Nasty Chat. All right, let's bring him in. He's our game analyst tonight. First time on the pregame show. We've had him on Hello Hockey as a guest, but tonight he's an analyst. He's Ben Scrivens, former Oilers netminder. Ben, what's going on, man? Good to see you, and thanks for stopping by today. Really appreciate you filling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Not too much, fairly low-key weekend. Just licking my wounds from earlier this week.
From the skills comp?
Yeah. No, it was a great time. Very appreciative of the Oilers and for the current guys on the team to have me and JD out there. It's an interesting experience. I mean, anytime you play competitive sports and sports on teams that are at that level, there's always a little uneasiness when you have outsiders around. So
right.
It was, we're appreciative of them for letting us be part of their night and their event, and we're happy that we could give a few softies up.
Well, Dr. Gonzo via the Nasty Chat says fave skills comp moment was McDavid absolutely disrespecting Scrivezina, as he calls you. So at least backhanded compliment, I suppose. But hey, you had the old gear too. What was I thought it looked great, and I was looking and I'm like, is that Ben? Is Ben wearing old gear? Like, where did that come from? What made you want to wear that stuff instead of some? I'm sure you kept some of your Oilers gear, didn't you?
I kept some of my gear. It's one of the interesting parts about playing is like the Oilers have their locker room sale, right? So they, you don't just get to keep all the stuff that you want, but I've got a mask or two, and I had a set of gear that actually gave away. I can't remember how long ago, but I was gifted a couple cool vinyls in exchange for them. So I gave them away, not expecting anything in return, and got some cool little tidbits in appreciation for it. So, but yeah, the old gear is great. There's a couple guys on Instagram who do it. A guy named I don't know his handle is Dem Bones, and another guy Cooper Goalie. I'd seen him kind of pop up when I was scrolling Instagram, and I was like, man, that's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
And I don't love, unlike most goalies, when they get retirement, they all they want to do is play out. I fall into that category.
Right.
It's a different game. If the player doesn't know where they're shooting, there's no chance of us reading it. And I say that with as much respect as I can muster, but like, you go out to a friendly skate and most guys, their heads are down and they're aiming for a quadrant to the net as opposed to, obviously how well the guys in the NHL shoot. So
right.
It's kind of a lose-lose situation when you get out, kind of in a regular skate. But I've found I've done a couple like high school, holiday games, a battle at the Bill. It holds a special place for me. I played lacrosse with Matt and Brady Cook. So I wear the vintage gear for that. I do some work on the ice with Vimy Ridge. So I play in the student teacher game there and wear the vintage gear. And it's, I kind of equate it to, I'm a terrible golfer, so maybe I'm incorrect in this, but if someone's a scratch golfer and they were playing against me, kind of rather than actually having a handicap with strokes, if they played with old hickory clubs, I might actually have a fighting chance against them. So that's kind of the equivalency I have. It's like the skates that I wear, I think are my skates from Pee Wee or Bantam. They're so heavy, they're awful. And the pads and the gloves, I'm lucky nobody hit me in the palm. Otherwise, I might have a cast here today. But it's a lot of fun. It's very road high. It's like a different style of play. You can't really butterfly the gear. You gotta figure your own way to do it. And yeah, I made a 2-pad stack in one of the high school games, and this goes down as one of my favorite saves I've made in my whole career. And it happened in a high school game in this old style gear. The guy, that Cooper Goalie, his handle, or that's his @Cooper Goalie is his handle on Instagram. You should go check him out. But he actually dated him for me. He said they're from the 1979-1980 season. Like that's the year that they were made. So older than me, which is an unusual fact to have.
Yeah, you and me both. I think you and I are around the same year, 85, 86, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm
I think
86.
We talked about that. Yeah. It did look nasty, and when I looked at it and I saw like all the Instagram posts, I was like, that has to be Ben. There's no way it isn't. I was like, that has to be him.
Who would do something so weird? Why would they? Oh yeah, that's Ben.
I mean, instinctual Ben. All right, you're stepping in for Cass today, who's still under the weather, and we appreciate that. So let's get to Game Changers. Brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Remax realtors. He and his team love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven. He understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate, or check out Cooper Goalie, like Ben was talking about. And if you got questions for Ben, fire them our way. I'll get to some of them as we go along. But number one on Game Changers, Ben, as the Oilers take on the Sens, it's seventh heaven. And when a team's rolling and playing well, it seems like they're keeping the bad habits out. What are the keys from your experiences to make sure you maintain that high level of play, playing against a team like Ottawa that's last in the East?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is the key. You get results by doing all of those right things in and out, shift by shift. And all of it is so cliche, but the reason it's cliche is there's a lot of truth to it, right? Mm. It's managing pucks at blue lines. It's bearing down on opportunities. You never know, unless you're Connor, you never know how many chances you're going to get in a game, right? So you got to be ready for it. And in this latest stretch, they've struck early a couple games. That's kind of been their nemesis in the past is, slow starts. Thinking back to, early last season, a little bit this season too. So to see them, kind of capitalizing early and capitalizing from guys who aren't necessarily the head guys, the
Yep.
big ticket guys. Early on in the year, I was a little bit critical of some of the younger guys, but McLeod has been on an absolute heater the last little bit. So it seems like everything that could go wrong went wrong early on in the year, and now they're getting all of the good bounces that they could be getting. And so it's a little bit of regression to the mean. They'll probably, I don't know. I think they're a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility that they finish in the top three. In the division. It's not a great possibility, but they're good enough to do it, and they're playing at a pace that they could. And they're so streaky that you get into the playoffs, you can sail through 2 rounds, by going on a 7-game winning streak, right? So, they've seemed to exercise a lot of their demons from the start of the year. You just got to keep going. Almost that break in between where they had the skills competition I don't think it's gonna hurt them, but when you're playing well, you kind of just want to throw us back to back.
Yep.
Just get us back out there as much as we can. It's the exact opposite of when you're on a losing streak, when you're like, oh my God, just maybe time will stop the bleeding a little bit and give us a chance to attend to the hemorrhage. So when things are going well, you want to play all the time, and when things aren't, there's nothing you want more than a little bit extra practice.
Well said. That was Seventh Heaven, number 1 on Game Changers. Number 2, this one you're very familiar with, Pipe Dreams. We're seeing Stuart Skinner in a groove here. Calvin Pickard has stepped up when he's played. Ben, I mean, you've covered this team, you've analyzed them, and you can judge goaltending. You've been a goalie in this league. What can you tell about these guys now and how they're playing? How much of is it the guys in front of them with team defense? And what's that feeling like when your team is on a nice heater and you're back there, whether you're the backup or the starter?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to separate those two, right? Is it Skinner and Picks playing so well that they're covering up for poor play in front of them, or vice versa? The team playing so well that they're insulating the guys. And I think, truthfully, they're playing both of those are true simultaneously. I think, obviously, Skinner, his confidence is back at a level that we saw it last year. He's put in undoubtedly a ton of work with Schwartzy. Same thing with Picks coming up. I'm sure he's put in a ton of time before and after practices with Schwartzy, a goalie coach that I can't speak highly enough of. He was a guy that I worked with as a youth. I think he's still one of the best in the league. And so that's paying dividends for them, having good coaching, having their confidence come back. And that only comes when they're starting to get results. So it really has helped that they've gotten some offensive production, the secondary scoring from guys down the lineup. Obviously, when you have Connor get a 5-point night, your chances of winning obviously go through the roof too. So I think the team is playing well. I think they're giving the guys more opportunity to make direct shots, and that's because they have more confidence in them, because the goalies have more confidence in themselves.
Right.
It's this self-perpetuating cycle, and it's good to see for these guys. And to your point, they've got to just continue with it, right? Stay hot, ride it as long as they can, and keep that momentum going.
We've seen the Oilers, Ben, play like the Sharks, the Ducks. Tonight's the Sens, so maybe there's that chance that it's one of those games where Connor and the guys up front are dominating. They're in the offensive zone, and you're not seeing a lot of Senators zone time. In those games, if it is one, in those games as the goalie, and you're not seeing a lot of rubber, what would you do to make sure you're still sharp? Because we always hear, you talk about the cliches. It's like, well, when you're not seeing the puck, you don't get that touch early. It can be tricky. So how would you go about handling that scenario in certain games where the team was just absolutely tilting the ice the other way?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a ton of those games when I was here in Edmonton, but I throughout
I
my
know.
career has had quite a few. um, I learned as my career went along to basically discount everything that leads up to it. Like that, the shutout night that I had, I've told this story before. Like one of the worst warm-ups I've had. I have said it's the worst warm-up I had in professional hockey. Like I don't think I stopped 3 shots during the warm-up, and then you go out and pitch a jam, right?
Yeah.
Um, it was experiences like that that reinforce or taught me and then continue to reinforce that like nothing really matters before the game starts.
Hmm.
When you are feeling good and when you have a level of confidence in your game, it comes down to doing like the little things. It's especially for goaltending, it's all of your work is pre-shot, right? And so you
Right.
can't control when a shot comes. So you have to control everything in the pre-shot, and that's being having your depth early, having your angle early, trying not to time. Like guys get in trouble at times when they're trying to like settle into their stance as the release is coming.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
like when you're really feeling it and you're in the groove, you're doing that like a split second before, but you're still set as the release happens. As you get a little bit too confident or as things start to slide, you start to just delay a little bit getting into
Mhm.
it. So if you know or if you're anticipating that you may not get a lot of action, a lot of the time you can help to mitigate those like mental funks by just being really really attuned in your pre-shot work. There's a ton
Wow.
of golf psychology that translates into goaltending in particular. It's a little bit of a solo position as
Yeah.
like an individual sport is with golf, very much like a shot by shot mentality. So anybody who's a golfer out there, right? It's kind of that pre-shot checklist that you're running through. You're just doing it
Yes.
in dynamic situations. So the more that you can have a really good understanding of what your pre-shot checklist is, and then being on top of that early, like try not to like be timing it, trying to be set early. Those were the things that helped me in situations like what you're talking about, where you're halfway through the first and you've had 1 or 2 shots. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you cannot control. It's the same thing. You can't be chasing glove saves. You can't be chasing big saves or timely saves. You can only respond to what comes at you. So you just have to put yourself in a position to be ready for whatever comes.
Well said, well articulated as always. I love the way you described that. That's why Zedmo says the professor. Yes, indeed. Ben Scrivens. Ben Scrivens with us here on the Oil Stream pregame show. And if you want to get a question at Ben, 780-218-9999. We're into Game Changers now. Ben filling in for Cass, who's still under the weather. Game Changers brought to you by Damon Bunting. Remax Elite. Number 1 was Seventh Heaven. Number 2, Pipe Dreams. Number 3, and you kind of alluded to it, and I started laughing because I remember those days very well. But dealing with drama, Ben, this is an Ottawa team that is going through all of it this year, and this was an Ottawa team that had these like really good young core pieces and had a decent run last year where they just missed out on the playoffs by I think it was 6 points ultimately. But this year it's been the total opposite. They've had a coaching change, had a GM change, ownership change. When you're trying to win games and make sure that you're providing at the NHL level, how tough is it to be in a situation like this?
It's tough. It's incredibly difficult. You run into the issue oftentimes. The issue oftentimes you're just not skilled enough. You're not a team that's good enough to compete
Yeah.
with the rest of the teams that are perennial contenders. And that speaks a little bit to depth. Most teams have some superstars. Most teams have guys who can put the net in or create chances on the power play. When you're fighting it, when it's a tough season, when you get into late December and you basically know you're already out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of pride to show up and compete and work and focus on your area of the game. Oftentimes what happens and what creates kind of the avalanche of bad times is you start not trusting the guy beside you or in front of you or behind you. And so you start to, I'm going to, play 80% my guy and 20% his, because I don't think that he's going to have it. And then that 20% that you leave open of yours, you get burned at one point. So now there's distrust for you in your position. The quality teams out there are very regimented, have really strong structures and accountability about like whose job is whose, right? Who's taking who on a 2-on-1 or on a 3-on-2. When you're back checking that F1 back, are they taking puck carrier? Are they taking weak side? Are they taking late man? Because the chances that get given up oftentimes in those are just either miscommunication or mistrust. I don't trust this D-man, or I don't trust the back checker to do their job. So you try to do a little bit more to make up for it. And then the whole thing kind of gets helter skelter. It can be a nightmare. And once you get there, like it's like any other relationship outside of the hockey world. It's how do you repair trust once it's broken a little bit, right? It takes time, and it takes commitment to those details. And when you kind of pile a couple losses back to back to back, and the same sort of mistakes are compounding, it can get dark pretty quick.
Yeah, it can. I'm getting flashbacks, buddy. I'm getting flashbacks. Well said. Yeah, well said again. Last one, it's coming in via the nasty chats from Less Sweet. You are an Edmonton area product out of Spruce Grove. Favorite donair place for Ben, he wants to know.
Oh, you know what? I'm not the biggest donair guy.
I wasn't sure if you were.
To be honest, there's I live on the West End. There's a couple spots around me. I don't know. I used to, when I was playing in Toronto, I would do the shawarma every once in a while on our nights out. Before I took the streetcar home. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't have a great answer for you. I'm a pizza guy. I'm Mexican food. If I can get a burrito, I'm going to do a burrito instead of a donair.
Any recommendations here in town then for Less Sweet? Because if we're not doing donair.
Yeah. I like the jerk chicken at Bar Burrito. That's kind of been my go-to lately.
Nice.
But it's tough. I was spoiled. I spent my off seasons in Denver for about a half a decade. And the Mexican food down there it's just unparalleled. We've got a couple spots around here. Some like they lean more authentic. But Mexican food is also supposed to be cheap, right? Like I went to Mexico City, I guess a year and a half ago, and I was like, oh my God, I almost didn't come back. It's so good.
You're right. It's so fresh, authentic. I remember living in OKC and you're like, oh my God, this queso is amazing. And yeah,
exactly. And that's from like the fast casual place. Then you go to like a nice spot, and I mean, I don't know.
It's on a different level for sure.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
But so that answer, no good donair spot for me, but find me a good burrito and I'm all over it.
There we go. I think that was a good alternative answer. Hey, great job on your first Game Changers. Painless, I would assume. And would that mean that you're good enough to do a quick post-game hit with us too?
Yeah, it's only the memories you dredged up.
I'm so sorry. Ben, great stuff. Okay, we'll catch up with you on the post-game show. Thanks as always, my friend.
Yeah, thanks.
That is Ben Scrivens.
Appreciate you having me on.
Anytime, man. Ben Scrivens, affiliate for Cast, Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Ben will stick around for the post game, and he'll give us his breakdown of the Oilers and Sens. We really appreciate him doing that in a pinch at the last second because, we're down a few bodies this week. And Ben, really appreciative of him doing that and nice enough to stop by, hang out with us, and do a great job. Really like his view on things as well. And it's nice to get those different opinions too. All right, we can go inside the Oilers locker room, Trev, if you want to. Who do you want to hear from first?
Yeah, let's go to Chris Knobloch. Here he is, ahead of tonight's game.
He's on to improve, winning streak or not. So what's maybe an area or two where the coach would like to see things move forward a little bit?
Probably, as coaches usually find is defensive details. I think we've been giving up more chances off the rush than we'd like to. I know that was a point of emphasis when I first got here, and we probably slipped a little bit in that area. Just, typically 5-on-5 goals are about probably 45% of the goals come off line rush goal or scored. So we just have to tighten that up, and that's usually either D pinching when they shouldn't, or forwards not back checking. But probably that's the area that we'd like to tighten up.
There's most of your games you've had a fair amount of shots on goal and a fair amount of chances. Can you maybe just touch on some of the relentlessness we've seen from the lines, not just when they get in on the rush, but then creating second chances and recovering pucks?
Yeah, no, I like how we are creating offense, and obviously you got some of the best offensive players in the league. You're going to see that, and obviously with McDavid and Draisaitl and other players, you're going to see that. But I like all four lines have been contributing. I think one thing we have to balance is puck protection, not throwing away pucks, not hope plays into the slot, because that's usually just feeding the other team's transition. I think we've been done a really good job of balancing that on, if there's a play to be made, then we've been trying those. But if it's not, I think we've done a good job of holding it and looking for a better opportunity.
Chris, where are you at with Connor Brown, of course? As you know, played with Ottawa. I sense that it's got to be a little bit frustrating with him in terms of the offense, but what are you seeing in his game right now?
Well, I think we can kind of look back at the way McLeod's season started, where, I think he was doing a lot of good things and just not being able to score. And I think the last few weeks, with his ice time, he's been creating as many chances as a lot of other players, doing a lot of good things. And, I think it's very unfortunate, very unlucky that he hasn't scored and put up more points than he has. But, for chances created per ice time, I think he's doing very well in that area. Also, you have to look at the other contributions that he's making to our team on his defensive play, and his defensive play 5-on-5, but mostly on the penalty kill. He's been outstanding on the penalty kill. So, yeah, we're a little disappointed that the offense isn't there, but it's only a matter of time that it's going to come. And he's been helping our team a lot. So, yeah, I think it'll come.
Chris, what's your job in that scenario to make sure that he doesn't lose his confidence and he continues to do those right things?
Just emphasis on the process and not looking at the result of the scoring stats on, where he is and how many goals he's got and assists and that thing. I like his play, and it's only a matter of time before he just breaks through and gets a lucky bounce, and maybe a goal comes off his shin pads. There's those kind of activities that are going to happen. But right now, he's helping our team win. He's playing well, and that's all we want to see right now.
What have you seen in Evander Kane as he's, whether it's trying to find it a little bit, or what have you seen from him?
I'm just trying to find chemistry with the line mates. Obviously, him and Leon played together for a while, and then we switched that up a little bit. And McLeod and Fogle have really found their game playing with Leon, and right now I think Evander's just trying to find his game with some new line mates. I think lately they've been playing really well, and maybe they haven't got as many goals as they'd like to have, but I feel it's coming.
He's used to, being a top six forward, I would say, and playing a certain number of minutes. He did play a pretty good number of even strength minutes last game. Is it important to continue to try and get him those minutes that he's accustomed to?
Yeah, it's, a player like that, it's good to have offensive zone draws and, creating some offense in those situations. But with our team, we also have some other lines that are pretty good in those situations with Draisaitl and McDavid. So, it's tough to put those players in those situations that they're going to excel when we've got so many. But, it's only a matter of time before our lines getting mixed up again, and he's playing with somebody else, whether it's McDavid or Draisaitl. But right now, obviously, we talked yesterday about not changing the lineup too much when we don't have to, and right now we've obviously won 6 in a row, and we'll continue going that way until we need to make a switch.
There you go. There's Chris Knobloch as his team looks for a 7th straight victory Knobloch is head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, 16-6 record. Very good stuff there. And Schauger asking about Evander Kane. Kane probably wants to get goal. He has chipped in offensively lately, but some people have asked, like, what's wrong with Kane? He's banged up. He's been banged up for a few weeks now, and I feel like at some point he'll be back in the top 6 as he continues to heal. I'm sure these 3 days between games probably helped him out a lot, but we'll see if he can provide a little bit more jam to the lineup, and if he's feeling better, then, in time, if this Fogle, McLeod, Draisaitl thing runs its course, I'm sure Evander Kane gets a look back in the top 6. But right now, it's a good problem to have, where you have 2 guys on the wings with Leon Draisaitl playing so well, playing quick, getting offense going, that it keeps a guy that's got the skill and talent and experience of a Kane on the outside looking in temporarily. Let's keep in mind it's probably very temporary. All right, where to next, YouTube, Trev?
Let's hear from the captain. Here is Connor McDavid.
Strong here in the homestand, and before going off on 3 tough road games, you guys got to be like the way you're playing right now.
Yeah, there's lots to like, obviously, when you're on a 6-game winning streak. With that being said, obviously a tough opponent that's coming in desperate. Obviously a similar situation as us kind of earlier in the year. So, going to be a tough test.
You guys know that mindset that these guys have, because you guys, like you said, you were there. So they're just trying to claw their way back into the picture.
We're still in it. I mean, we're still in that mindset. Obviously, we dug ourselves a big hole, and we can't be satisfied that we've had a couple of good runs. Obviously, we've got ourselves kind of back into the mix, but still so much work left to be done.
Guard got hit pretty hard last night. Is that just what happens when you're the rookie in the league? You're going to take a solid hit?
Remember your first?
Other than the one into the end boards?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's unfortunate. You never want to see a guy go down. But I'm sure I'll be fine.
What was your welcome to the NHL moment? Was it that hit with Manning, or was it another one?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say my welcome to the NHL moment was skating around, and we were playing Washington at the old Rexall and seeing big number 8 on the other side, and realizing you're going to be going up against him. That was kind of my welcome to the NHL moment.
Chris talked the other day about you need to be better. Like, despite the fact that games you're winning games, that there's still a push to be better. What do you see are areas that you guys can continue to focus on?
Yeah, I thought we were a little bit fortunate to win the other night. Stu held us in it. I thought that's been the case a couple of the games. We've got really solid goaltending, and I think limiting chances, obviously, continuing to do that. We found ways to produce offense, but that being said, the defensive side, obviously, you can always get better.
Do you look at the skills differently now when there's $1 million on the line, or how do you look at that?
How do I look at that? You know what? Ultimately, it's there to entertain and put on a show for the fans. That's what ultimately it comes down to. We want it to be entertaining, and I think the last couple skills competitions have kind of dragged on. I'm not sure if you guys seen, but they're a little bit long and slow. So hopefully that there's no surfboards this year, which would be good. So hopefully it's entertaining for the fans. That's ultimately what the All-Star Game is all about, is for it to be entertaining, and that's the goal.
Did you have him?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll pick that one, but we'll see.
Did you have input in maybe what, did they come to the players and say, hey, what do you guys think about what should we do for a skills type thing? Do you guys have any input on
that? Yeah, I think the league and the PA is always working together to better the product, not only on the ice, in games and stuff like that, but special events like that. The league and the PA are always kind of working together.
There's Connor McDavid headed to the All-Star Game once again in Toronto in a couple of weeks, early February, and they want the skills competition / game to be entertaining for the fans. Well, to keep the players entertained and involved, they're throwing $1 million at them in the skills comp as well. That certainly catches people's attention. If you're a player that doesn't want to be there and shoot pucks at surfboards, it's like, how about winning $1 million if you're good at the skills comp? Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, YouTube, Trev, one more inside the Oilers locker room. Who we're going to hear from now?
Last but not least, we have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Despite the winning streak, like the push is on to continue to get better. There's areas you got to get better. What's kind of the message when things are going so well about how to make sure they keep going well by improving?
I think I think that it kind of is the message. Keep striving to improve our game and bring it every night and for a whole 60. Obviously, 6 in a row, you're happy with it, but the position we're in, we're not satisfied, and we know that there's more for our group still. Whether it's defensive or just playing full 60, we know that we can continue to get better, and that's always our goal every night.
Yeah. Can you get a little bit specific? Like if you were to say there's an area you know that this group can push the ball a little bit further forward, what would one of them be?
Well, I think offensively we've started to find their game a little bit, and I think when we started to turn things around and start getting on different little roles, it started with our defensive play, our track back, and our stance from the D-men, and just being hard to play against. And when we get away from that a little bit, you can feel it slip a little bit, and I think that's something that we need to be good at for a full 60. And obviously it's tough to do that night in, night out, but it's something that we need to be able to do.
You played the majority of your career, well, a bunch of it at center. You moved to the wing, found success there. Ryan McLeod recently has made that same move, from a centerman to the wing, and he's found some offense. Can you just discuss what that's like as a career center to move to the wing? And I'm not sure if it simplifies or what you're seeing in his game that's allowing that offense to come.
It's obviously it's a bit of a transition at first for sure. He's obviously a smart player, so it makes it a little easier. But it definitely, as a centerman, a little more responsibility down low. You're usually trying to be first guy back. You're usually last leaving the zone. So as a winger, it kind of frees you up a little bit offensively, and you can kind of mentally kind of make that switch in your head. But I think he's done great so far. Obviously, playing with those two guys right now, they're working hard. They're making plays, and they seem to be clicking, so definitely big for our team.
You guys are consistently out shooting and out chancing teams. Even in a couple of games you lost in this 17-game stretch. Where does that start? Like where are all those chances coming from?
Well, I think just being confident in our ability to be a good offensive team, and we got D-men who can work the line and put great shots on for us, and we trust that, and we've been doing a way better job in the past few weeks of getting to the net and getting rebounds and just kind of playing that road hockey from that. And I think it kind of starts from there. Then obviously working hard back into our zone and trying not to give up anything easy for them.
Connor Bedard had his welcome to the NHL moment last night. Do you remember yours?
Yeah, I remember actually in Vancouver in preseason. Just kind of going down the wing, turning up, and somebody just absolutely hammered me. I don't even remember who it was, but somebody got me good, and kind of melee ensued. But you definitely, obviously, it's a lot of big physical players. Hopefully he's all right. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, but it's a lot of big guys in this league, so I've had a few, but I remember that one.
Is that something you learn over time? Is how to avoid that big one?
Yeah, I think you learn a little bit, but at the same time, it's part of the game, and there's not a whole lot you can do. Sometimes it's just guys are going to catch you. Guys are very good at picking their spots, and that's just kind of part of hockey and part of being in the NHL.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, I do remember that preseason game in Vancouver where he got plowed over. He got right back up, though. And then I also remember him getting into a fight with Dan Hamhuis. Dan Hamhuis was a solid defenseman for the Canucks and in the NHL, also with Nashville for a long time. Good stuff there from Nugent-Hopkins, and tough one for Connor Bedard yesterday, fracturing his jaw. He's going to miss some time and the All-Star game probably, unless maybe he's back in time, Trev, for the All-Star game. He's got just under a month, right?
They were saying 6 to 8 weeks.
For
it. So it's looking like he's going to miss it, which is too bad because yeah, I mean, he would have brought a lot to the All-Star game this year. A lot of fans would have liked to see him. It would have been cool to see what, him and McDavid, if they do something out there. So, yeah, it would have been cool. But I'm sure there's many years to come for the young phenom.
Indeed. Tough one, though. But, I feel for him. We talked about it a bit on Hello Hockey, the old trolley tracks. Sometimes you get in there and heads down or someone catches you. So that did happen to Bedard yesterday. Hey, great show today of Hello Hockey. That was a fun one, man. Big thank you to Jackie Redmond and Kyle Bukoskis, as well as Dave Pagnotta for stopping by. If you didn't catch it, Jackie was awesome. So was Kyle and Dave, as always. Lots of fun. We've been busy here, Trev. We've been busy with a shortened staff, and we've been making it work, though.
It's it's been very busy, but this morning, I mean, I had a lot of fun. It went by. It just goes by so quick, I swear.
Yeah.
So, it was really good conversations. If you haven't tuned in for that, definitely go check it out because it was a good one. They all are.
Yeah, and big thank you to Ben Scrivens, again, stepping up, filling in for Cass tonight. Cass still banged up. Someone was saying it was COVID. It's not COVID for Cass. He got tested at the hospital. I think it's that RSV. Someone was texting about it. That's what he's been dealing with for sure. And his voice is slowly coming back. So hopefully he's good to go by next game when the Oilers take on the Blackhawks as they hit the road. Speaking of like restaurants and stuff, I know it was less sweet asking Ben about his favorite donair place, but Ben said he likes his Mexican food. People talking about theirs. Four Amigos ain't cheap. La Patrona in the Park from Dean 12345 says really good but pricey, especially the tequila. You know what? Good tequila, man. It's good. Like a sipping tequila, even for sure. I had a great one in Nashville at a place called Saint Anejo, and that was great food too. Get that fresh Mexican food with the great ingredients. Oh, delicious. Absolutely delicious. Also, speaking of Hello Hockey, we'll probably be on location at one of our favorite restaurants, local public eatery. And they've got some great stuff. And so does BP's, as always. So a big thank you to all of our sponsors here at EST, A&W, Popeyes. Delicious. Just so good. Now I'm getting hungry. Look what I did. All right. I'm going to get to some texts right away. But I think first we're going to go inside the Sens locker room. We're going to hear from Jacques Martin first. And we'll go from there. How about that, Trev?
Yeah, sounds good. Here he is.
How are you enjoying, being back on the bench and then running the Senators?
Well, I think it's a good challenge. I think we've got some good young players, and I think we just have to keep working at getting better, improving certain areas of our game, and it's a good challenge.
It's not like you went away and came back, but I wonder, being on the bench, is it still kind of the same as it was, or do you feel like it's a bit different now?
No, I think it's it's the same. Like on the bench, I mean, like I think having an awareness of who's on the ice and who's performing well, being able to evaluate your own team and keep in check the opponents as far as knowing who they have on the ice and their strengths and weaknesses. So those are areas that that were important before and are still very important.
Jacques, sometimes players get traded and come back to the team they were on before, but it doesn't happen too often to coaches. Did you ever think you would be a coach 20 years later or whatever, you'd be back to the same team?
Yeah, it's quite a few years back, but no, I think as I said to the team when I came on board, I think we had a very successful team when I was there. My first time around, we were able to get a team that was very competitive and I think good both sides of the puck. But I think this is completely different. This is a new group. It's an opportunity for them to make their own history. And I believe that we have some great skills. There's just a couple areas of our game that, if in order to win on a consistent basis, to me the foundation is you got to play hard and you got to play well away from the puck, and then that will give you success in the long run.
You had some good young players back then, though, too. So you look back at that and say, eventually they grow up and your team becomes very good.
Yes, for sure. I think, to me, you look at the top players in today's game, and And for me, I had an opportunity, I think, to grow a lot after leaving Ottawa. I was a head coach in Florida, Montreal, and then an assistant in Pittsburgh for 7 years. So I had an opportunity to get better as a coach and learn more. And I think whenever you have a chance to coach a superstar like Crosby, you learn from those experiences, and also the fact of being fortunate to win 2 Stanley Cups. I think those are experiences that hopefully will help mold this team into a championship team.
Do you have to coach Sidney? Do you have to coach Sid, or is he going to coach himself?
Well, I think he's an interesting. He could coach himself, but he brings elements to the game that as a coach, expands your horizon, and and you learn how some of the top players, how you need to handle some of those top players.
Are you putting an emphasis on playing the full 60 minutes here tonight, Coach?
Yeah, I think it's been something that maybe more on the mental side of the game, to be able to sustain what we're trying to achieve for 60 minutes. To be able to handle the highs and lows in a game, and you're going to have that. There's going to be situations that maybe are not what you'd want, but you've got to be able to bounce back quickly. You can't let your guard down. I think, and to be patient as far as playing the game. Sometimes when you try to open up things, you get yourself in trouble.
There's Jacques Martin, man. That guy, he's been coaching in the NHL forever. Second stint with the Ottawa Senators. He did have 10 years with them earlier in the 90s into the early 2000s. Like he said, he was with Florida for a few years, Montreal for a few years, now back with the Sens. Started, Trev, his first year with the St. Louis Blues in 1986-87. Insane. He was 34 years old when he was a head coach for the first time.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's been in it for a minute, that's for sure.
Oh, man. 616 wins, 486 losses, 119 ties, because they used to have those, and 81 OT losses for Jacques Martin, now back behind the bench of the Ottawa Senators. Okay, let's wrap up with some texts. And I was just going over some scores as we're listening to Jacques Martin there. Some notable ones from the Pacific Division tonight. Calgary falls 3-2 in regulation. That's good in general for the Oilers and for teams in the Pacific trying to get their way into the wild card spot. Toronto 4-1 over San Jose. No big deal there. Vancouver is up 6-4 over New Jersey. That game is just wrapping up. You've also got the Vegas Golden Knights welcoming the New York Islanders to town. 12 games on the NHL sched tonight. Oilers and Sens. Displaced Yukon says, would you consider this a trap game? I guess it could be, but I'll give Edmonton the benefit of the doubt for playing so well lately and handling what would have been perceived as trap games in San Jose and Anaheim really well. So, yeah, you know what? Displaced Yukon, it could be. Sens have not been playing well. You heard Claire Hanna, who stopped by earlier from TSN Ottawa, tell us that it's just been rough. And, one domino falls, like Ben Scrivens says, and everything can compound and get worse. And it seems like Ottawa's in that type of position right now. Now, if they have a great game, they're up for this Oilers team, and they surprise them, that would be a huge piece of a building block, if you will, for the Sens. So, yeah, it could be, but if Edmonton goes in with the same approach as they did in Anaheim and San Jose, I think they're fine. I really do. Donnie M. Hello, Donnie. Texts in via the inbox, says, I had COVID twice. Thankfully, just a mild cold for me. Over Christmas, I got the RSV going around. It hit me way harder. I'm still only maybe 60%. Get well soon. Cass. Thank you, Donnie M. Or no, that wasn't Donnie M that sent that one. It was someone else. My bad. It jumbled it up in our inbox. But Donnie M says, hey, Tommy, give something good tonight and have Scrivens on again, please. A new view on Oil's goalies. Really welcomed. Awesome to hear from Ben. So, yeah, he says, so refreshing. And I will listen to his goalie analysis. So, yeah, it was good to get Ben on, and we'll have him on the post game briefly. And in a pinch, he stepped up, and great analysis from Ben. Well spoken as always. Thoughtful guy, and a good resource to have for sure in our city and a part of the alumni too. Rusty Shackelford says, tequila shots on the post game. If Brown scores tonight, T-Biscuit, I don't know. Maybe I'll crush a couple beers, that's for sure. But I think there will be a few other fans maybe enjoying some shots if Brown scores. Does somebody have them on their bingo card? Their Oilers bingo card tonight? So we'll see if Connor Brown could score against one of his old teams. And Taylor from Indiana says the All-Star game isn't that serious. I don't know why he couldn't still play. Just wear a fishbowl or something. Yeah. You know what? They reevaluate these guys. They're in the medical room every day. So maybe he heals quickly. Maybe he can make it. But like Trev said, 6 to 8 weeks, which sucks with that fractured jaw. MGD Oil Fan via the nasty chat says, I sprinkled Brown tonight. Ooh, a little money on the line. Hopefully not too much. But we'll see how it goes. And Norman Combine says, howdy, Tom. Texans are kicking ass. Go Oilers. Norman Combine. Hello, Norm. Great to hear from you. And then Adam said, why is your guest talking about the Oilers goaltending circa 2010 to 2023? Exact same goalie stories as the Oilers. Suck here, ship them out. They play great. That was Ben Scrivens. He played here for the Oilers back then. Or was that when Claire was on? That must have been when Claire was on. So, Adam, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sending in the text. Appreciate it as always. Final thoughts from you, my friend. YouTube, Trev, what do you think?
Yeah, like I'm pretty well like every game. I'm really looking forward to tonight, Tommy. I don't know. I might be in the minority, but I wasn't big. I wasn't really big on the Senators coming into the season. I don't know why. I just I don't know. They had nothing to show for. Like they were close last year, and I get getting Vladimir Tarasenko. It's a huge it's a huge addition, but it hasn't really worked out. Their top six is. It's a pretty solid top six, especially in a few years with Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk only growing. But I mean, their bottom six, Tommy. I barely even heard of their fourth line, like Angus Crookshank. Yeah,
You don't know Yuri Schmeichel?
Yeah, no, not really.
Mark
So
Pastelik?
it's a little thin. So. The top six should cancel each other out, but you think the Oilers' bottom six isn't the greatest? I mean, kind of just look at the Senators. It's really not that great, in my opinion. So if the Oilers come out strong, which they have been in the last few games, it should be a pretty easy win, I think, for the Oilers. And just seeing Draisaitl, McLeod, and Foegele, that line's really clicking, and they're super consistent right now. I'm very surprised by that. The first game was at the Rangers that they were formed. I thought it was a one-game show. I was not expecting. They put together 4 or 5 games now. They've looked really, really good. So the top six, if they continue to play like they've been playing, it should be an easy, pretty convincing win. But don't quote me for that. That's just what I'm thinking.
We're quoting you. We're holding you to it. And if it happens that they lose tonight, the pitchforks are coming out for YouTube, Trev, tonight.
I heard that once before. They said the loss. I blame the loss on 2 things: goaltending and YouTube. Trev saying that this was going to be an easy win, and I'm like, no, you cannot blame me for that. But
how did you play, Trav? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly, right? So,
all right. Well, we'll see how it goes, pal. We got one more nasty chat text that says, "Will you open the phones for playoffs for post games?" Maybe when we get there, Dan. When we get there, we'll reevaluate. Trev and I will sit down with Cass, Dusty, and Awanik and see how we want to go about it. We can do it. We have the capability, but Trev, I think, and you know what? Actually, when we were at 1260. We had a lot of complaints when we did take phone calls, oddly enough. I'm good with them, but we'll see, Dan. We'll reevaluate for sure. X-Ray J with one last one says 7-2 Oilers. Let's see how it goes. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream pregame show. Big thank you to Ben Scrivens for filling in for Gager and Cass and Belzy, who are all away tonight. Cass is under the weather, and Ben will be on for the post-game show. And then also a huge thank you to our dear friend Claire Hanna from TSN Ottawa. For YouTube, Trev, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thanks for tuning in. Thanks for texting in. Smash the thumbs up button. Enjoy the Oilers and the Sens. We'll catch you on the post-game show. Ciao for now.